The long-awaited Murray-Darling Basin plan will be released this week, and with it a renewed debate over the priorities of the nation's food bowl. The plan will identify how much water is needed to keep the rivers and wetlands of the entire basin healthy, and is likely to reduce the amount available for irrigation. The basin plan comes at a time of high morale for farmers and environmentalists, as heavy winter rain has ended almost a decade of drought. So strong have flows been in Australia's greatest river that fresh water is likely to flow out of the Murray's mouth in South Australia this week, something that hasn't happened since 2002. Mike Sexton reports.
In South Australia, where the Murray River ends its marathon journey, the creeks and floodplains are alive to a welcome soundtrack.
Noise around here with the frogs, just like having a party and just talking to each other, and it's been absolutely fantastic.
The frogs are the most vocal cue that after almost a decade the drought might finally be over.
We've been open and praying and having our ceremonies, waiting for the waters to come back, just like I guess everybody else is around here.
This is the Bremer River. Really it's just a creek, but it's flooded 3 times in the past few weeks thanks to local heavy rainfall. It's pouring into Lake Alexandrina, where environmental campaigner Di Bell sees new growth every day.
The water's moving and so's the land. We can hear the frogs, we can see the birds are feeding, the fish are running, the tube worm on the back of the turtles is going away. So the country's refreshed and there's new life, and the communities are feeling happier too.
There are 2 lakes where the Murray River pools before making its final push out through the mouth and into the Southern Ocean. During the drought, the lower lakes have become one of the most obvious signs of a system in crisis. Inflows were so low that the lakes shrank dramatically, exposing acidic soil, reducing the waterways into salty, mucky puddles, and all but destroying a previously thriving dairy industry.
It's been a pretty tough time for a lot of the local businesses, and particularly watching the demise of the dairying industry around the lower lakes and seeing those families move off and move out of the area and take their kids with them.
Although local falls have helped, most of the water pouring into the lakes has come from Victoria, where last month's floods brought more water into the river in 1 week than had flowed in a whole year of the drought. As the lakes fill, the next hope is that for the first time since 2002, the barrages will be opened, allowing water to flow into the Coorong wetlands and reopen the mouth to the sea.
The system works here needs to be connected, that water needs to get out the mouth, because what it's doing, it's flushing the accumulated salts and nutrients that have come down the River Murray, have accumulated in the lake and now need to be flushed out. So the health of the whole river system actually relies on that being a healthy mouth and the water getting out.
As the drought took its toll on wetlands and waterways across the basin, a ferocious debate has taken place over how much water should be set aside to keep the system healthy and avoid such catastrophes as hit the lower lakes. The argument is about to flare again with the long-awaited release of the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, which will, in theory, set how much environmental water must be left in the rivers. Di Bell says there's no better time to reset the system than now the cycle has turned from bust to boom.
These floodwaters at the moment are kind of a gift to the authority to allow them to have their plan do the things that it should do, restore the health of the river and the resilience.
From our understanding, it appears that the southern parts of the Murray-Darling Basin will be the ones that are hit hardest by the basin plan, including both the Murrumbidgee and the Murray, and also some of those systems in northern Victoria.
By setting environmental flows, the basin plan will also recommend cuts to how much some farmers can use. For irrigation communities such as Moree near the New South Wales-Queensland border, there's a sense of fear about the basin plan.
We're just coming out of 10 years of drought. We've suffered dreadfully, and we've lost about 25% of our water entitlement so far, and we believe there's more to come. And that really hamstrings us to get our businesses back and running.
The New South Wales Irrigators Council believes the basin plan has been constructed to favour the environment over social and economic factors, and that Mother Nature has taken the urgency out of the need for reform.
There'll quite rightly be some questions as to why we need to go through with such a slash and burn approach that the Basin Plan is likely to take when there's water in the system, which proved that what the environment required was not a policy, it required rain, and when it got it, it came back to life.
One of the places yet to come back to life, though, is the Coorong, a stretch of estuarine wetland between the lower lakes and the sea, and one of the so-called icon sites that the Basin Plan is attempting to protect. While they wait for a dose of fresh water, Adelaide University scientists are documenting the toll taken on the internationally significant wetlands, where some sections are now 6 times saltier than the ocean.
The most salt-tolerant fish in this region, a little tiny fish, probably gets no more than 10 centimetres long when fully grown, a thing called a small-mouthed hardyhead. It just teems through this region, and it just disappeared from a whole 50-kilometre length of the Coorong over about 4 years as the salinity gradually got higher and higher.
Associate Professor David Payton understands the many demands on the Murray, but believes consistent environmental flows are needed to save the Coorong.
And the key issue we need to be appreciating here is it's not this one flow which is the important thing, it's actually the establishment and re-establishment of what were regular flows to this system. And everything about that's going to depend on the Murray-Darling Basin Plan and what the environmental allocations will be.
There is a belief among some irrigators that under the Basin Plan their communities may lose water that ends up in the lower lakes, where it's wasted through evaporation or going out to sea. But those at the other end of the system argue they are communities too, and won't survive without healthy lakes and wetlands.
We'd like to see that maintained, but that can only be maintained through proper water management and the sharing of water equally amongst everybody.
That report from Mike Sexton.